Modern-day archaeology and anthropology haven't entirely sealed the door on our imaginations, interpreting the past as devoid of anything unusual, characterized by a people of larger demeanor, like being a giant. They're either one of two things. Either they're a race of humanoid beings, much larger than humans, that lived around the dawn of man, or they're just very tall people. There are some written and some oral legends of their existence. Some say there's even hard proof. These videos are just that. 15 real-life giants that exist today. Sultan Kozan. This tall man was born in Mardin, a city in southeastern Turkey, and this Turkish farmer holds the Guinness World Record for tallest living male at 8 feet 2.82 inches. However, his giant size is due to a complex problem. Kozan's condition is called acromegaly. It's a hormonal disorder that develops when the pituitary gland produces too much growth hormone. After a trip to the doctor as a teenager, the doctor informed Kozan that he had a tumor in his head. So he was treated and provided medication to control his excessive levels of growth hormone. And the treatment was effective in halting Kozan's growth, but he was still over 8 feet tall. The advantages of being tall, he says, is being able to see a great distance and being able to help his family with domestic tasks such as changing light bulbs and hanging curtains. The disadvantages? Finding clothes for his legs that measure 49.61 inches and for his arms with a sleeve length measuring 38.19 inches. Shoes are a whole other problem, and despite his unusual size, Kozan did manage to find love and married in 2013. And because of his enormous popularity, he's been able to travel to over 125 countries. Fasten your seatbelts, because it's time for today's sweet topic. Check out these large and in-shape females living their best lives at the beach amongst these teeny tiny men. These fellas seem to be loving the attention of these Amazon-sized goddesses. But did you know that these stories of giant females who once fought alongside men are actually real? For a long time, modern scholars believed that the Amazons were little more than a figment of ancient imaginations. They were the fierce warrior women of ancient Greek lore who supposedly sparred with Hercules. And more recently, they played a central role in the Wonder Woman comics. But did they actually exist? A growing body of archaeological evidence shows that legends about the horseback riding, bow-wielding giant female fighters were almost certainly rooted in reality. New research suggests there really were groups of nomadic women who towered over men. Is it possible that they may exist today? These Wonder Women of yore? And we all have needs, right? These fellas might not be Hercules, but a girl's gotta start somewhere. Does size really matter? Leave your thoughts in the comments and use the hashtag #SweetTopic. Dalip Singh Rana was born in India in 1972 and was one of 7 children, and he was also born with acromegaly, which caused him to develop gigantism at a young age. At 7 feet 1 inch, Rana became a police officer in 1993. Before long, he was convinced to try and become a wrestler. It wouldn't be too long before his incredible size caught the attention of wrestling promoters. And soon, he was wrestling all over the world. He got his big break in 2006, making his debut on national television as the Great Khali. Rana suggested the ring name, the Great Khali, after the Hindu goddess Khali, who's associated with eternal energy. And since then, the Great Khali has become one of the most iconic wrestlers in the world. Between his imposing size and his signature moves, he battled with some of wrestling's biggest stars during his career, making him one of the inductees into their Hall of Fame in 2021. He's appeared in 4 Hollywood films, 2 Bollywood films, and several television shows. The Great Khali is also deeply spiritual. He meditates every day and avoids alcohol and tobacco. With 2 hours of weight training, morning and evening, every day, he maintains his giant size on a vegetarian diet, believe it or not. Jeff Dabe. Arm wrestling's origins can be traced back to at least 4,000 years ago in ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptians, a highly organized and structured society, used arm wrestling to determine who had the strongest arms, a sign of superiority and dominance. Jeff Dabe from Minnesota has earned himself the nickname Popeye from fans. The wrestler's monster forearms measure 19 inches in circumference, with his hands big enough to fit a basketball in each hand. Given the size of his arms, it naturally made sense that he would compete in arm wrestling tournaments as a youngster. Having made a promising start in the sport, Jeff suffered an injury during a contest which caused him to give up the sport prematurely. However, in 2012, Jeff decided to start competing seriously again, this time using his left arm. He went on to become the state champion from Minnesota, which booked him a ticket to compete in the World Arm Wrestling League. Thanks to the World Arm Wrestling League, he competes with people from all over America. But why were his arms and hands so big? Experts conducted tests and looked for signs of gigantism and elephantiasis, but the tests proved that this was not the case. Jeff Dabe just has huge arms. Morteza Mehrzad. At just over 8 feet, few people in the world are taller than Mr. Morteza Mehrzad of Iran, and this giant of a man led his volleyball team to Paralympic gold in Rio 5 years ago. In the finals, Iran destroyed their opponents 59-42, and Mehrzad slammed 26 points with his ferocious spikes. These Paralympic athletes play aggressively and by normal volleyball rules, except that the net is just under 5 feet tall, so it's no wonder that this Paralympian can bring home a win. He was born to get volleyball gold, however it was a long journey to get there. He fractured his pelvis in an accident when he was 16, which somehow stunted the growth of his right leg, which is now about 6 inches shorter than his left. He also suffers from acromegaly that results in abnormal growth spurts. Then one day a coach saw him on television and had no idea. The coach believed that he could be a great Paralympic athlete. And he was right. He made a big impression not only on the game, but also on the fans, who cheer on his every move. He's the tallest man in Iran, the tallest Paralympian in history, and currently the second tallest man alive in the world. Bao Xishun. There are giants in Mongolia too. Bao Xishun was born in 1951 to a herdsman's family that claims, like many Mongolians, to be descended from Genghis Khan, one of the most famous warrior leaders ever. But this guy is pretty outstanding. Mr. Bao's 5 siblings are all normal height, but at the age of 16, Bao was struck by a mysterious growth spurt. By the age of 20, he was over 7 feet tall. At his tallest, 7 feet 9 inches, and it was confirmed that Bao was taller than the previous record holder by just 2 millimeters, and he broke the Guinness World Record. Another time, Mr. Bao became a global sensation after he used his long arms to save 2 dolphins by pulling out plastic from their stomachs after surgical instruments failed. A giant and a hero. Soon after, the world's tallest man married a woman half his age and 2/3 his height after advertising for a wife around the world. After inclusion in the Guinness World Records, he began searching for a bride. Despite placing advertisements around the world, he chose a woman from his hometown, and after just a month of courtship, his wife accepted his proposal. Big love. The world's tallest married couple. The tallest married couple is Sun Ming and his wife, Zhu Yan, have a combined height of 13 feet 10.72 inches. They were officially measured in Beijing, China in 2013. They were married that same year. Meet the tallest couple in the world. He's 7 feet 8.98 inches and she's 6 feet 1.74 inches, a perfect match, and they would agree. They've secured the 2016 Guinness World Record as the world's tallest married couple, beating the previous record holders by just 1.7 inches. And the couple are both celebrated athletes. Sun is a basketball player, the world's tallest, and Zhu plays professional handball. And they met at the National Games in China in 2009. Sun played with several American minor league teams, including the USBL team Dodge City Legend, the ABA team Maryland Nighthawks, and the IBL team Grand Rapids Flight. He was also drafted by the Harlem Globetrotters in 2007, being the tallest player in their history to be drafted by them, although he'd never play a game. And as for married life, the pair have admitted that everyday tasks such as traveling by car or plane can be difficult, but the two offered their recipe for a trusting and happy marriage, saying no one is perfect, therefore you need to support one another on a daily basis. Good advice for everyone, big or small. The world's largest feet. The current record for the world's largest feet is held by Jason Hernandez of Venezuela. His feet measure in at 1.33 feet and 1.32 feet, which puts him at a US size 26. There's no marketplace that offers size 26 footwear for sale. Most brands offer up to about 13 or 14 shoe size, so it's not easy for Hernandez to find a new pair of shoes. While larger than average feet can make shoe shopping a nightmare, they also may be indicative of a unique problem. Oversized hands and feet are among the symptoms associated with acromegaly, the hormonal disorder that occurs when the pituitary gland makes excess growth hormones. Hernandez, an avid basketball player, says he's had trouble finding shoes that fit since childhood. When he couldn't find any in his hometown which fit, Jason had to wear sandals made of old tires and fabric to reach school or other appointments. A German custom shoemaker helped outfit Hernandez with a custom pair, certainly breaking the Guinness World Record for largest feet, and made him appreciate the size of his feet. While Hernandez holds the record for largest feet among the living, the record for the biggest feet ever goes to Robert Wadlow, who wore a size 37 AA shoe. His feet measured at 18.5 inches each, and he lived from 1918 to 1940. The world's longest legs. Meet Macy Curran from Cedar Park, Texas. She now holds the record for having the world's longest legs for a female and the longest legs for a teenager at 17, according to Guinness World Records. She was in elementary school when her doctors predicted she'd grow up to be 6 feet 4 inches tall as an adult. She shot past that estimate in 7th grade. Her legs measure about 4 feet 5 inches each. Most human height is determined by genetics, while about 20% can be influenced by nutrition, quality of healthcare, and other environmental factors. Doctors can estimate the height that a child would reach as an adult by various methods, starting with a simple formula involving the heights of the parents. A more sophisticated way is a bone age study done using an X-ray taken of the child's hand, which shows how much growing a young body has left to do. The Cedar Park resident now stands 6 feet 10 inches tall, and her legs make up 60% of her total height. Her left leg measures 53.255 inches, while her right leg measures 52.874. The teenager, who stands head and shoulders above other people, has attracted worldwide attention since the news of her record-breaking limbs was announced. Kewal Shields. His first name, pronounced Kewal, is perhaps prophetic. It's a Swahili name, Shields says. I'm told it means the only, which is somewhat appropriate if true. This 30-year-old former car salesman, sports enthusiast, and music fan lives in Pascoe Vale South in Melbourne, Australia. This giant is 7 feet 3 inches tall, and he's roughly the same height as a female Asian elephant. By the time he was in grade 6, he was more than 6 feet tall. He's held the mantle of tallest man in Australia since 2017. So, where does the height come from? His heritage, of course. His late father was 6'4", while his mother is 6 feet tall. Height is basically a function of how much our longest bones elongate throughout childhood and adolescence. That growing process is driven by a web of genes, only 20% of which are understood. There are perhaps 700 identified genetic variants at play. While traveling in the United States, a coach spotted him on the streets, and he ended up playing basketball at a small college in a small town in Iowa on a full scholarship. He never made it as a professional, but loves the game and still plays it recreationally as a star center with the Craigburn Eagles in Melbourne. So, what are the odds of being as tall as he is? 1 in 24.6 million. Yao Defen. Born to poor farmers in the town of Luan in China, Yao Defen was about 6 feet 2 by the age of 11. She went to see a doctor at the age of 15 to address her alarming growth spurt. Often these surges in growth hormone can have complicated health ramifications. Doctors diagnosed Yao with a condition called gigantism. A large tumor in the pituitary gland of the brain releases too much growth hormone and causes excessive growth. To understand the difference, gigantism means growth hormone takes effect before growth plates are closed. In acromegaly, growth hormone takes effect after growth plates have closed. But luck was about to change for the giant woman. After a television program filmed a documentary on her, she raised enough money to get the surgery that she needed. 2 leading doctors removed the tumor, and her growth hormone was greatly slowed, although it remained a problem. However, upon her return home, she was still able to walk with crutches, unassisted by others. Experts had high hopes of improving her condition enough to undergo more surgery. But unfortunately, the world's tallest woman, as verified by Guinness World Records, died at the age of 40 in 2012. Igor Vovkovinskiy. Igor Vovkovinskiy, born on September 18, 1982, is a Ukrainian-American law student and actor, best known for being the current tallest person living in the United States, at 7 feet 8.33 inches and weighs 380 pounds. Originally from Ukraine, Igor moved to Rochester, Minnesota in 1989 at the age of 7. At that time, he was already at least 6 feet tall. Igor's height has been attributed to having a tumor pressing on his pituitary gland, causing his body to have released excessive amounts of growth hormone. But he learned to use his giant height to his advantage and became a bit of a celebrity. Igor acted in commercials and films, notably the 2011 comedy film Hall Pass, and also became a viral sensation for wearing a t-shirt that read, "World's Biggest Obama Supporter," during the former president's historic election. He's also the first tallest living person from 2 countries, the USA and the Ukraine. Igor joined singer Zlata Ognjevich as part of Ukraine's stage performance at the Eurovision Song Contest. He seemed to be on a roll, but unfortunately in 2019, it was revealed that he was undergoing treatment for a heart condition. Igor needed an operation to fix a valve condition that he was born with. Brahim Takioullah. Brahim Takioullah, born the 26th of January in 1982 in Morocco, is a Moroccan man who formerly held the Guinness World Record for the largest feet and is officially the second tallest living person. At the age of 18, he'd been asked by his school doctor to get a blood test for his unusual size. In a single year, he had a 3.3 feet high growth spurt. After obtaining his university degree in geography, a doctor brought Brahim to Paris for treatment. His treatment was successful as his tumor was removed and the growth hormone level in his blood was brought down to normal. With a height of 8 feet 1 inch, he's the second tallest living person behind Sultan Kozan of Turkey. And he's tied with Morteza in Iran in the world according to the Guinness World Records. They also confirmed at the time he had the world's largest feet. The 29-year-old has a left foot measuring 1 foot 3 inches, while his right measures 1 foot 2.76 inches. He works about 50 miles north of Paris and can't even stand up straight in the small flat he shares with his mother. And he has difficulty getting into taxis or even the train and can never move around without attracting attention. Japan's tallest man. Yasutaka Okayama didn't take up basketball until he was 18. As a freshman at university, Okayama left for the United States in 1975. There he attended school for 2 years at the University of Portland, where he joined the men's basketball team. It was there team doctors diagnosed him with a condition known as gigantism. After returning to Japan, doctors were able to successfully treat his condition, and he soon began playing for the Japan Basketball League. Okayama was still receiving some interest from NBA scouts, however, particularly from the Golden State Warriors, and they ultimately selected him in the 1981 NBA draft. Despite never having played in a single game, Okayama still holds a place in NBA history. At 7'8", he remains the single tallest player ever drafted. In the end, he had a great career in Japan Basketball League. He guided his team to a championship victory in the 1982-1983 season, while also taking home MVP honors. It's worth noting, however, that Okayama was not the first Japanese athlete to ever play professional basketball in the United States. Back in 1947, the New York Knicks drafted Japanese player Wataru Misaka, who played a total of 3 games for them. Sandy Allen. She appeared in Fellini's film Casanova, in the TV movie Sideshow, and in a Canadian-American documentary film called Being Different. The New Zealand band Split Enz even wrote a song about her on their 1982 album. Sandy Allen was an American woman recognized by the Guinness World Records as the tallest woman in the world. She was 7 feet 7 inches tall, and she took advantage of all the publicity. Sandy flew to Los Angeles to be interviewed on talk shows. Soon after, an agent contacted her about a role in a Fellini film, and she was off to Italy. She toured the countryside with the director and his wife, had her first glass of wine, saw Bianca Jagger on set, and stayed in Roman Polanski's mansion with Donald Sutherland. Allen toured the Vatican, and there on the cobblestones, soldiers and tourists were astounded. Her height was due to a tumor in her pituitary gland that caused it to release growth hormone uncontrollably, between 200 to 1,000 times the rate of a normal amount. Although over the years other women have taken over the title of the tallest woman in the world, Allen held it for the last 16 years of her life. And what a life she had. Robert Wadlow. Born on February 22, 1918 in Alton, Illinois, Robert Wadlow showed huge growth soon after he was born, and by age 8, he stood taller than his own father at 6 feet tall. When he joined the Boy Scouts at 13, he had grown to stand 7 feet 4 inches, and soon he became known as the Alton Giant. He was 8 feet 4 inches when he graduated high school and soon toured the country as a star performer with the Ringling Brothers Circus. Measuring 8 feet 11.1 inches from head to toe, Robert was the tallest man to have ever lived. Even today's contenders for the title of world's tallest person don't come close. Doctors believe that if he had lived past 22, he would have been over 9 feet tall. However, Wadlow's growth was extremely taxing on his body. With such a large body, many of Wadlow's organs and biological systems had trouble keeping up. His legs struggled to carry his great weight and forced him to wear leg braces and use a cane. He weighed over 450 pounds when he died. And because Wadlow was so beloved, his family had him buried in a 10-foot 6-inch steel coffin, enclosed in a heavy concrete vault, not wanting his body to be stolen, like those of other famous giants.